Hey, Richard.
How you doing?
Is that you rocking out there?
Yeah. I sent you an email
Yes, you did.
about a estate sale, and they
Yes.
have a lot of art stuff.
Yes, it
They
did.
make,
I'm sorry, you cut out there. You sent me an email about, yes, it did have a lot of art stuff. And then what did you say?
I said they may have an easel.
Yes, I saw one.
You saw one.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, it was it's kind of an unusual. It's kind of like one of these fold-out drawing boards that stand vertically. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's
they
kind
work
of interesting. Yeah. So yeah, I might head over there Friday morning and
all right.
take a look around. So anyhow.
A lot of stuff.
Where is it?
What in like Roswell, Sandy Springs, somewhere around?
It's up in the northeast corner of Sandy Springs.
Is it?
There's
Can you
a
send me
map
the
with
same
it.
email, please? Richard, could you send me the same email, please?
All right.
Thank you. Later, not now.
Well, whatever. Anyhow, everybody doing okay?
No,
No,
I just sent you a help email.
I know. I saw it.
Oh, you saw that?
Yeah.
All that work, and then at the very end, I smudged the left-hand side. Dadgummit.
What is your email address?
Rebecca B. Pinkney at gmail.com. Rebecca, R-E-B-E-C-C-A, B as in boy. And then Pinkney is the killer. P-I-N-C-K-N-E-Y at gmail.com.
Whoop. Kind of went off there a little bit. All right. Okay.
I'll try.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's all I ask. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Anyhow, let's see who's here. Oops. We got 7 participants. Okay. So Rebecca, Richard, Bob's here, Eloise, Veronica, Lady's here, Ilan is here. Okay. All right. Great. Okay. Yeah, I think Surin is going to try to show up today. He sent me some things and asked a couple of questions. Good questions. You know? So, you know, we'll answer them. At any rate, okay, let's get rocking and rolling. Let's start. Okay, John's not here yet, is he? Nope. Okay. John sent in this piece, which, now this is actually not John's. This is Winslow Homer. I'm sorry. Jeez. You did it, Wyeth, Andrew Wyeth. There we go. Brain. Engage, please. Yeah, this is a piece by Andrew Wyeth. And, you know, John did a little bit of borrowing, stealing, you know, whatever you want to call it. And he put in, you know, basically that farm that we had as far as an assignment, but then he added this girl. And, you know, he made a comment about I guess the perspective or something not quite being right about the girl, and I agree. Yeah, there's something slightly off about her. probably, this arm is a little bit too exaggerated. Probably a little bit shorter, a little bit smaller.
Are you showing the picture, Mr.
Yeah,
Vaughn?
we don't see anything.
Oh,
Yeah.
or not? Okay. I thought
Not
we
yet.
were.
No.
Well, bad me. Okay. Here. Let's go there. All right.
Oh,
So this is John's.
that's a famous one.
Well, yeah, this is John's painting, but he used the character out of Wyeth's painting. And here is Wyeth's painting. And as you can tell, the arm is actually much smaller than John made it. Okay. And so, proportionally that works a little bit better, even though it's still a little bit awkward. He just made the arm really, really thin here. In John's version, he's she's a 2021 kid. She's been eating well. She's not nearly as thin as the other girl. So, but he could either thin down the arm or shorten it. I think a little bit would help, and or he can increase the size of the lower part of the body.
Right.
Now I think where he's going to have a bit of a struggle is in the fact that he's using watercolor. So it's hard to go back and make those kind of changes.
Hello?
Oh, here he is. Okay.
Yeah, I had trouble. I still am having trouble getting in.
Okay.
But I'm in. Okay, what's the deal?
Oh, well, we were comparing, your girl in the grass to Wyeth. Who I wanted, by the way, and I wanted to call Wyeth everybody but Andrew Wyeth for whatever reason. My brain is not quite engaged.
Okay.
When you look at this figure, and
Right.
if you come down here to the bottom of the shoe and you draw a line almost straight across, see the hand is almost.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And then the size relationship. This is actually bigger in proportion than what you put on your figure. Now it's accurate in the sense of, you got the hip and the angle and everything there. This could just get a little bit bigger until this came down to about right here, and then you'd probably be okay. And or you can make the arm smaller and bring the hand up to about right there, and just kind of thin down that arm a little bit. Your call.
I have a question, Charles. How does he erase a misproportion to redo it without smudging the paper?
Well, this is watercolor, right?
Yep.
And
I've done it before. Normally I just wet it and
Mhm.
sort of lift. And,
Okay.
Yeah, honestly, I would recommend that you just make this bigger and bring it down to there.
yeah, right. I think that would be the easiest way, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and
When I looked at the reference again, that's what I thought that leg looked like it should come down further.
and it doesn't necessarily have to go out further. It
Right. Correct.
is
Right.
down. And so if that shoe were like right about there, and then you
Right.
filled in that shape with the hip, the grass coming over the dress, the grass could be taller, it could be covering part of it. It's fine,
Okay.
Yeah, I think that would be easier, easier
Yeah,
to correct,
Right.
personally. That's it.
And the other thing I noticed is like her rib cage, what do you call it, above the waist there. On the original, it sort of dips in a little bit more. Mine seems to go out.
Yeah, yeah, a little bit. Yeah, there's, he's exaggerated the movement.
Right.
He's got this curve in the figure, and yours
Uh-huh.
doesn't quite do that. So,
Right.
but again,
Well, her leg is bent and his leg looks more straight.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I noticed. Yeah, I noticed that too, Gene. Right.
Yeah.
After, it's funny because watercolor you work flat. I don't know if that's part of it, but it looked okay working flat. Then I took the picture to send to you, and I said, something doesn't look right.
Yeah.
If you would elevate it on a book or something, just to, enough so that the watercolor wouldn't run, it would be less flat and you wouldn't get the perspective that you get when your piece is
Right. But I work pretty wet, so and I don't want the drip. So
well,
just
see,
up just a little bit.
if this part stayed light, right,
yeah.
on the hip, and then
Yep.
here, it came forward to this point and then turned downward.
Right.
Got the foot down there. See, all of that
Right.
would be shadow
Right.
for the most
Yeah.
part.
Yeah, I think that's what it would. That would do it.
Yeah, and then you would get more of the effect, that he had. It's pretty
Right.
much, this whole upper part of the leg and then the lower part of the leg really falls
Right.
into shadow here. And
Yeah, and then our other foot on the other side too. I didn't really.
yeah, you got that little bit of that shoe sticking out there.
Right.
So
Okay. The other thing, my other question was, when you looked at it, where did your eye go? Did your eye go to her or to the barn?
To her.
right now it goes to her.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, it goes to her first, but then because of the angle and everything, you go back up to
Right.
the
Right. Okay.
red barn, then you go back down to her.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's working as far as the composition goes. I mean, it's fine.
Okay.
You got, kind of a nice, triangular movement in there.
Okay.
And really about the only thing fighting is this little bit of really bright green right here.
Yeah. Okay. I thought so too. Right.
Yeah, I would either take that and move it, curve it, this way.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't make a strong diagonal like that into there.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I think, just curving it around or just, fade it out.
Okay.
You don't really need it. So,
It's in the Wyatt thing. There's like a road, tire tracks or something.
well, it's, it's the edge of a field. Yeah.
Uh.
Like right here. Yeah. See,
Right.
and this is kind of a cut area, and then this is a,
Correct. Yeah.
So, so he's used this shape as well, in the composition. As
Yeah.
well as,
When I saw the assignment, I just thought of this Wyatt painting, and I thought I'd do a little parody.
okay, yeah. Yeah, and that's fine. That's fair. You can
Now,
do
is that considered stealing or copying or anything of that nature?
Yeah.
well, yeah, you're basically the figure. The barn that
Right.
you got there is a different barn. And
Yeah, it's all different. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
so it's, the landscape is rather different. But that's okay. You can do that. You're not copying Wyeth, directly, but you're using that pose, and
Uh-huh.
you're really not doing the figure he did either. You could change the color of the dress, the style of the dress, anything else, and
Right.
make it more
Or
contemporary.
have do anything.
Yeah. And still keep it kind of the same or similar pose. That's fine.
Well, the lay of the land's a little different too, because he had the horizontal line where
Yeah,
between the
that's
cut
what
and
I'm
uncut
Yeah, it's
grass.
it's a
It's
different,
his idea, but
different
he's changed it.
So, and
Yeah, I was trying to play off the two references.
yeah, you did fine. Yeah, I like where it's going. So you just got a little more futzing to do with it, which is okay. It's fine. We've all got.
Okay, I will do that and send it in again.
And then,
Thank you.
and then I'm going to go to Rebecca, because Rebecca sent this painting in. Now, this was an earlier phase of the painting, and so, again, she's taking the composition or the reference that we had, and then she's, embellished it by adding, some of these horses and things in here. And also, as she worked along, let's see, is that one any different? Nope. So here's kind of where she is now. And then she sent me an email basically saying help. And so what is it exactly that you want help with? You said the trees to the right. Rebecca,
Sorry, I was muted.
yeah, you were.
Okay, so in my attempt to use a brush that's round, and I've used it to stamp and decorate different objects over the time, I use that, and you can see where the stamp is throughout the trees. And
Yeah.
then I made the mistake of actually using a brush to blend the trees on the right, and now I've got a blob there. How do I go back to get more definition between the actual separate trees?
Okay. And what media is this?
This is oil.
It's oil. Okay.
Yeah.
Then in that case, it's pretty easy. You would mix up another color and value, and just go in on top of this. Now, whether you do that immediately or whether you do it and you wait so that that color is dry underneath, so you're laying color on top of it, that's the choice. I would probably just let that dry and then go back and work on top of it.
Okay.
Because you don't want to
All right.
cut it all up. It's a nice color, and and interesting texture and stuff, and you probably want some of that to show through.
Right.
Whatever color you're going to put on top of it, to help break up the shapes. Okay.
Charles, what do you do about the area on the right again, above the green trees and below the red trees, where there's almost a line of empty space? What do you do? Just like,
You mean that edge right here?
yeah, you just do a neutral color there or leave it?
No. I mean, just take some of your red and bring it down, and or you can take some of your green and go over it. Either
Okay.
one. Yeah, but yeah, let them sort of meet or overlap.
Okay.
And I wouldn't make a hard edge there. I would,
No.
yeah, let it be kind of random, then you'll be fine.
I'm having the same trouble on the roof of the barn.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to, I guess that there is a white edge to the roof itself.
Mm-hmm.
And then the red and orange and green of the trees come right up next to it. So
Yeah.
again, this is what
Is
I'm,
that a road behind the barn?
ma'am,
Is that a white road behind the barn?
a white robe behind the barn.
Road.
You mean
It looks like there's a road with trees on the left and right.
Oh, yeah, you're right. No, that's the roof to a little shed on the far right.
oh, you
No,
mean,
no. The big barn in the center,
yeah,
that
right.
white area. Is that a road? It looks like a road to me.
Well,
And like the
this is
barn
the
is
roof.
facing,
yeah, this is the roof of the barn right here.
No road.
It's a white roof on a red barn? Or are you still working on it?
A white roof with a red barn, and where the arrow is some kind of little different little house that has, I think, a weather vane on top of it.
Right. Yeah, it's, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah,
It
there's
looks like,
another-
it looks like a road to me.
Okay, well, thank you. Charles,
yeah.
how do I put in realistic looking grass or leave it alone?
I would not leave it alone. And as far, you know, I mean, you're not seeing the grass close up,
No.
but there's going to be a little more variation in color, and everything doesn't move horizontally. See, all of your, it's like you've got these lines moving horizontally here, and they
Right.
need to be a little more random.
Okay.
Here, let's see if I can.
Frederick,
Let me, assign, yeah, there we go. Let's open up the reference for that. Let's see.
okay.
And take a look at what you're working from. And that way. Okay. Everything but what we want. Landscape. Yes, that's the one. Okay. Now, let's stop sharing. Let's stop sharing that. And then let's share the original image. Okay, everybody see the barn and not the painting, but the photograph.
Yep, yep.
All right. So, Rebecca, you'll notice that, you know, in the foreground area, the foreground really isn't the foreground. This was taken from a distance and you were looking across the field. So you really kind of start in what we would call the middle ground. And, you know, and the middle ground really goes all the way up to the edge of the hill and the barn itself. And then from there, you know, you get the background up to this ridge of trees, and then you get kind of a deeper background, you know, a mountain that's further away. So you've really got like 3 layers here, you know, or well, if you want to count it 4, you know, the grass, the barn, the hillside with the trees, and then the ridge that's further away. And, you know, you see some indication of trees up here, but not a lot. You know, it's almost a solid color. You know, there's really not a lot of variation in it. Now in the foreground, or, you know, it's actually the middle ground, but we'll call it the foreground for our purposes in this painting. You'll notice that as you move back here toward the top of the ridge, everything gets a little bit softer. As you move forward, well, you see a little bit more, but not a lot. You know, there's just more variation, more texture and stuff as you get toward the bottom of the image. And then it gets a little bit flatter and simpler as it moves, you know, toward that upper edge. And I would just kind of stay with that. You know, do basically what you see. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
In looking at this, you can definitely tell where the light's coming from, which is it's fairly low and it's to the extreme right, you know, coming across. Because look at the cast shadow, the tree and the fence here. The side of the barn is in deep shadow here. Under the eave of the barn, you know, that's all casting a deep shadow. And the water tank or silo right there,
I think that's called a silo.
yeah, is again, you know, casting a real strong shadow on the barn. So, you know, so that tells you really where the light's coming from. And then when you go back to yours, everybody seeing Rebecca's painting?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, good. You know, right now, you know, you've got the indication of the shadow of the tree, though it's probably not long enough. It probably needs to come out to about there.
Okay.
And then this side of the barn is really much darker. And, you know, the whole half of the silo that's in shadow, you don't really have any indication of that or the shadow cast on the barn. Once you start getting those things in, you know, then it
Okay.
will start feeling, you know, like it's got a little more form to it. The other thing is, there's really no light on that barn right there, you know, the roof. So all of this is in shadow. It's kind of a gray. It's not that light.
Okay.
It's really only, you know, this edge of the silo and then this rooftop right here of the shed, that's really in direct light.
Okay.
You know, everything else here is pretty much so in shadow. You know, even
Is
the
that in
roof,
watercolor?
no, it's oil.
It's oil.
But Rebecca, here's what I would advise. Okay, and you're headed that way. You're just getting there slowly. Get some color on every part of that canvas and get rid of as much of that white as you can. Because
Okay.
there's really nothing in that original image that's white. You know, even that barn that's lit up, that's way over to the left, rooftop, and even the little shed that's way over to the right, and the silo, none of those are white. They've all
Okay.
got a cast of gray or kind of a blue-gray to them.
Okay.
And, you know, they're some of them are lighter values than others, but yeah, there's nothing there that's white.
Okay.
And so, you know, get those some color on those roofs and get some color in there for the sky and really look at the shape of where that mountain is in the background. And it doesn't go all the way across the photo.
Okay.
Yeah, it goes back behind this ridge right here. See, it kind of comes out about here and up and then
Oh,
off on this side. But yeah, it doesn't go all the way across. And the only thing I'd say about, you know, if you did that and came all the way across with like this, the problem with doing things like that is that it sets up these barriers for your eye to move through the composition, right? Because there's like one line here, one line there, another line there. And it's like all these stopping points for your eye to kind of not be able to move any further back. And so you want to try to avoid, you know, a lot of lines that go all the way across your canvas. Okay.
I think I understand what you're saying. So the mountains need to be, for example, the
Different shape.
yeah, that shape could go right above the silo and disappear there, and then on the
Maybe a little bit shorter. You know, maybe it comes out from behind here,
okay,
and you leave a little more sky over here, right?
that's great.
Yeah.
So, do you like the calf that's eating the hay?
Well, I was kind of wondering about that, whether it was a calf or a goat, because
Me too.
it seems to be standing on its hind legs.
Right. That's a very poor perspective, but I wanted to get it in there. I'll probably have to change it. I know I'll have to change it. But it was a lot of fun because they had those 3 big bales of hay. How could they think that an animal wouldn't try to go over there and eat it?
You know, he's not going to eat, you know, a whole bale, not by himself.
No, but no nibble.
Yeah, and that's fine. You know, He's not going to eat a lot. At any rate, and even if he did, that's what they want him to do anyway, so he grows. So not a problem. You know, as far as the bales of hay and stuff, these two feel okay because you see they've broken that line and they're sitting closer to us than the barn. In this case, this bale right here, it seems to be floating in the air
Okay.
because it's not sitting on anything, right? And then you've got the calf that's, you know, reared up. Again, I thought it was a goat standing on their back legs to get to it, like floating in the air, and that kind of tells the same story. And I guess my question is, if he's eating on this bale of hay and he's down here, then that bale of hay needs to end somewhere down there too.
Okay. I got you. Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, it's got to be closer, you know. So
Okay.
Because of the sun coming, you have a shadow going to the left side of that bale anyway. where
I'm
it could
sorry, what?
sun. I said
What?
because the light is coming from the right.
Mhm.
The bale, you could put a little shadow under the bale to sit it down, and you'd have a shadow because of the shadow from the bale, the way the sun is directly coming from.
yeah, well, once you got it down here, where the calf
Yeah.
actually is, then you could
Yes.
have a cast shadow on it. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
We'll
but
help sit it
it's,
down.
it still has to, it's got to be bigger and it's got to move down here.
Right.
So, you know, you could just enlarge the size of it.
Right.
Again, the bottom of it would have to touch somewhere close to where the calf's feet are so that the calf could get close to it, close enough to it to eat it. Otherwise, you know, he's just kind of reared up and the bales of hay are way far away from him. So they're not that close.
All right. One last question, please.
Okay.
How can I make the tree look more realistic? In the picture, it has no leaves and it's gray. And
Oh, you mean
behind-
the tree in the foreground?
Yes.
Ah. Well, when you look at the tree in the reference,
Right.
you really barely see it.
Right. So this is
Yeah.
that pretty good
Huh?
then? The one did I draw it?
Well, you made it a little too present. It's got to be simplified, and you're going to see more grass and things behind it. So all of these branches, you know, are not that thick.
Right.
Yeah, the trunk is, but you know, all these limbs and stuff, you know, they're just very, very kind of wispy, fine lines. And
Right.
you know, you could just take like a broad brush and just lightly lay in some tone there, and then put the main branches and trunks in and let it be what it is. You don't have to fill it all in
Okay.
with all those tiny little lines.
Right. Okay.
You just want to give the idea that there's a tree without foliage on it.
Yeah. Simplify it.
Yes, simplify.
I can do that. Thank you.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Next we got June.
Did I
And-
miss me? You're
Pardon?
going the wrong way. You're going the wrong way. Did I miss mine?
No. No.
Oh, okay.
I hadn't got to you yet, but I'm headed there. Okay.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure you didn't start at the bottom today. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. At any rate, yeah. So June took the reference for the lily pads, the one that Ilan used, and you know she stayed maybe a little truer, you know, to the reference, the photo, than Ilan did. He took some artistic liberties and added a bunch of mermaids and stuff in it, and that's fine. June, the only comment I
Yes.
say about this is, you know, the shape of the lily pads,
Yeah.
you know, all of your ellipses, they seem to be a little too flat. It's like you're way, way up above. Um, and look at the reference, you know, they're a little more oval than they are.
Yeah, yes, I know.
Now, that being said, do you have to go back and change all of them? No, you don't.
Yeah, I haven't finished yet. I just started.
I know, okay, but what I'm saying is
Okay.
you don't have to go back and change all those. In fact, you know, what you got there is kind of nice. You need to develop it further. You know, and actually the perspective doesn't really bother me, all right? I just
Okay.
wanted to point out that the way you're painting it and the way it is in the reference is a little bit different. Now, one thing I would say,
Yeah, the figure may be too small, right?
yeah, I think the girl has to be much bigger.
Yeah, be the bigger. Yeah, I saw about that. I said because leaves is big. This
Yeah,
the figure is too small.
Yeah, probably the top of her head is about right here, and then she ends about down here.
Okay. I
And
see.
one,
Okay.
she would be easier to paint. Number two, that would make all of this area down here move much closer to us. Okay.
Okay.
So, but that, you know, other than her being maybe a little too small, that's really, you know, that and the perspective is a little bit different. You know, that's really all I have to say about it. You know, you just need to get more paint on there, and you need to develop her, right?
Yeah. Okay. I just sent you let you look at how I adjustment. Yeah. I want your just a suggestion.
Okay. Well, you got a good start. Okay. Now, the one thing I'd say about the lily pads, you know, you've varied the color on the lily pads, and that's fine, right? I would encourage you to push more color into the lily pads themselves, and they don't all have to be green. They can be pinks and purples and blues and, you know, anything you want to put in there. You know, you can really have a lot of fun with the color in here, and all the flowers. You know, you've got some that are a little bit pink, some that are a little bit yellow, and that's fine. Again, push it, you know, let it go a little bit further. Okay?
Okay.
So,
You know, Charles, I never got any of those reference pictures yet.
My word.
really? Okay. All right. I will send them to you this afternoon. Okay.
Why this picture cannot download? I tried download to my the image to my picture, but I cannot do it.
Yeah, it's just going to take a long time because it's a big file. Okay.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And that's fine. I would rather have it be a big file than a. What is that, Gene?
Was it supposed to be changed or do it like the picture was? I said when you see the references, that was as the pictures are, or change it.
I'm sorry, what? When I sent the reference.
When you send the photographs, are you supposed to copy the photographs, or you change it to any way you want to change the photograph?
No, you don't have to copy them. You know, they're just sort of a source of inspiration, you know, maybe to give you an idea of maybe I wanted to do something with the lily pads, right? And no, you don't have to copy it exactly. That is not the goal.
Okay.
The thing is, you know, get the reference. Maybe you find another piece of reference. Maybe you want to take parts from both of them, right? Combine them, whatever you want to do, you know, create your own painting.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Is Søren, did he ever make it? He said he was going to try to be here today.
Charles, I have a question.
Yes.
When are these due? When are we supposed to be finished with these?
There wasn't a tight deadline, but this week, I just wanted you guys to, try to do something, by about this week. But if they end up taking longer, that's fine.
Mine is definitely longer.
Yeah. I mean,
But I'm glad to change it.
yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna, give you a tight deadline, like, you have to have it in by Tuesday. Now, the art show is a different thing, okay? June 18th, I would like whatever you're thinking about putting in, I want you to send it to me, okay? In the
Can
format.
I ask a question about that?
Sure.
Charles, did the pictures, did they have to be framed or they don't?
No, they don't have to be framed. And in fact, I don't really want you taking a picture of them in a frame. I just want the image itself.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
That's all I need for right now. Now, we're supposed to have a Zoom meeting between myself, Kermit, the people at the library, and the other instructors. And we're going to find out more about what we have as a budget, what we can do as far as framing and presentation and stuff. And when I find that out, then I'll pass it on to you. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the main thing is, Susan, and everybody else, find 5 pieces, or up to 5 pieces. You don't have to find 5, but up to 5 pieces that you really feel good about, work that you did that you're really happy and proud of and would like to show people. Okay?
Okay,
That's all that matters. Okay, because, this is all about you. I mean, seriously, that's what it's about. It's all about you. Okay?
this is kind of my first experience with art shows. I haven't, I know my daughter's been in a lot of them, but I've never done this, so it's kind of new to me. So,
Well, I mean, what you might do is you might find, 5 or 6 paintings that you really like, and then sit down with her and ask her, it's like, well, what are your thoughts? What do you think are the better pieces? And get her feedback. Okay?
yeah, she's very good. So, okay, thank you.
All right. Søren sent these in. I'm just going to look at them real quick. Now, this is an artist by the name of Maxfield Parrish. Anybody familiar with his work?
Beautiful.
Maxfield Parrish was an illustrator during the golden age of illustrators in America, and did beautiful work. And the amazing thing is that Parrish really didn't work that large. Most of these paintings are relatively small, kind of medium to mid-size, but just got an incredible amount of detail in there. And Søren's question was about painting leaves on the trees. And, you could do something like this, right? And the thing that works with Parrish is the fact that, yeah, he painted all these leaf shapes all through here and kind of created this very textural look to the trees, which is nice, okay? But do you have to paint every leaf? No. But you notice, well, there's not a lot of trees back here in the background. And if there were, he would have simplified them and really just done that to the trees that really are in the foreground up here. Anything that's closer to us, he put more detail in, can't talk. And as it moves back, things get hazier, simpler, and they change color as well, see? All of these very cool colors, kind of purples, blues, things like that. The greens, the yellow greens, things like that, oranges, reds, all of that is up here in the foreground, closer to us. So yeah, you could do something like that if you want to. You'll probably go nuts. try to paint every leaf on a tree. And again, you know, it's not really necessary. Okay. Now he sent in a second painting and asked about it, and it's the same thing. Okay. But I think it's a clear illustration of if you were going to go about it with this approach, that this actually works better. There is a lot of detail here in the foreground, right? You know, every blade of grass, or what feels like every blade of grass, is painted in. And it's not just painted in with just a paint stroke of green. You know, it's painted in with a paint stroke of green, but then they've changed the green, you know, as it goes out to the end and back. Each one of these vary. Okay. Along with that, they've also put a change in value where the light is hitting like some of the edges and things like that. And it gives it a very realistic representational feel to it because, again, it's just not a green paint stroke. It's a green paint stroke, but it's there with other paint strokes that fit together to make a blade of grass. And same thing for the leaves, you know, on this bush and even up in the trees. And he's done that really all the way in through what we would call the foreground. Once he's gotten past the foreground, back to say this tree, see, he's begun to simplify it, right? It's not, you know, there's some texture in there, but it's not like, you know, the leaves on any of these, right? And so again, you know, that's kept that tree right here that we're seeing, you know, through, you know, this branch right here, the tree back here behind it, again, it's simpler, so it sits back. And then there's a definite color difference. There's a definite intensity difference and temperature difference. You know, the tree in the front is much warmer. The tree further back is much cooler, right? And then as he moves out of the midground back to the background, see, things get even more simplified. And, you know, here he's just doing silhouettes of trees, you know, breaking the horizon line right there. So there really isn't a lot of detail on anything really from about the midground to the background.
So Charles, what was Siren's original question? Was it, do you have to put detail on all the leaves, or how to put detail on the leaves?
Well, he sent these in asking whether or not you could take this approach, you know, to painting trees and leaves. And the answer is yeah. You know, I mean, both of these guys, this, by the way, I think this is Courbet, who was a French painter. I'm not absolutely sure it's him, but, you know, my guess is just looking at the style of it and things, it's probably Courbet. And Courbet was painting just before the Impressionist movement started and was, you know, basically one of the early French painters going out doing what we call plein air painting. And so these were painted, a lot of them, in a combination of plein air and the studio. And Courbet would do that. You know, he would get in there and he would paint all the textures and everything in the leaves and do a really beautiful job of it. And that's fine. You know, you can do that. Is it really necessary though? And the answer is, yeah, a lot of people paint trees. They don't do that. And they still look like trees. And it's a lot more efficient way of painting. But again, you know, you got to make it yours. So if you want that to be kind of your signature mark that you do every blade of grass and every leaf and every little tree branch, okay, you can do that. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just that this painting right here, I don't really know how large this painting is, but I have to guess that it's a fairly good sized painting. Because I've seen a lot of Courbet's work before, and generally he painted kind of like a medium to fairly large size, fairly large being, you know, maybe 36 inches wide by like 60 inches tall. So it's a good sized canvas. And you would have to have a canvas that large really to pull that off, you know, to be able to get in there and really get the intricacy of all of the foliage and everything in there. Now, this was not a fast painting. It probably took him more than a year to paint this. So I guess the question is, you know, do you want to spend the time? You know, do you want to spend a year painting a scene like?
People would go insane.
Well, right. Yeah. It all depends on your temperament. You know, if you've got a lot of patience, you know, and you really, really love getting in and painting detail, you'll be fine. You know, if you're one of these people that are a little more spontaneous, this will kill you. Okay. It will put you in the nut house. Okay. Because by the time that you get just the blades of grass up in here painted, you're going to be kind of like, I'm over this painting. I'm done. You know? And yeah, it will be difficult for you. So again, you know, you got to do what works for you. You know, it's a beautiful painting. And really for me, it's not the amount of detail in the leaves and things that make this painting. Courbet was really, really good at managing color and light, the sense of the direction of where the light was from, what was in the light, what was in shadow. And he was a master at that stuff, and it shows. Because that really, you know, that's what makes this painting. You know, if he was actually standing out there, you know, he saw this ridge and the trees on the other side of the lake. You know, and they were probably, to him, you know, they probably actually looked a lot greener than he painted them. But he chose to gray them back more so that these came forward. See? And that's the thing you have to decide as an artist. You know, depending, you know, I mean, he was probably out there, you know, pretty much so from early morning till, you know, late afternoon, painting this. And at sometimes in the day, it would do this. It would kind of gray out and kind of go flat. Other times, it would just be a very dark silhouette. Other times, you know, you would actually see a bright green over there. And again, you know, you wouldn't get the contrast between the trees here and there. And so he had to, you know, get to know that particular scene and be very selective about how he managed each of those areas. And that's what made it a really good painting. So, and it is a good painting. It's, you know, it's a very, you know, one of the nicer paintings I've seen him do. And it's beautiful. You know, really admire, you know, his use of color, and just, you know, look at the use of how he managed the intensity of the colors. All the intense colors are really up here in the foreground. Everything gets really soft and gray as it moves back. So anyhow, nice stuff. Susan, are you ready? Yeah, okay. I'm just checking. All right. So this is Susan, and this was from Friday when we were drawing, right? The goat?
Right.
Okay, yeah. And this, you know, this looks goat-like, okay? And so, you know, you did a pretty decent job on that. And did you work on this just during the class, or did you work on it afterward?
I did a little bit of the body afterwards, but I mean, I just drew that, but
Okay.
But it was during class. It was
Okay. All right.
following him along with what he said to do. So,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And hey, it works. You know, you've got to go. And then we have this young lady. Okay. And this was from the reference, and she was sitting in a little, or at the edge of like a little pool. And, you know, and you've got a nice sense of the figure and the pose. It's a little flat though, like in the hips, and and we've talked about this before. You have a tendency to outline things with a very kind of even, consistent line. And I have a name for that. It's called a coat hanger, because it's like you took a piece of wire and just kind of bent it around her. And again, varying that line, you know, putting in some areas where it's darker, somewhere it's lighter, somewhere it's thicker, you know, or thinner, harder or softer, will tell you a little bit about what you're actually seeing. And in this particular case, you know, you could have maybe like underneath here, you know, really, you know, made that line a lot bolder and darker, because she had a lot of weight, you know, sitting on her hips, and she was sitting on something that was hard, right?
right.
You know, because basically she was sitting on like a masonry or stone walkway around the pool. So it's not like she was sitting on a pillow or anything. It was, you know, a hard object against something that was fairly soft, and it's going to have some compression on it, right? Up here, you know, on her hips, as they move upward, you're not going to have the same compression. So the line has to be different, right, than under here. The same thing here with the back, you know, coming up. You know, again, the line, the character of the line is going to change because it's not under the same stresses. You know, so you're not just looking for the boundary of something, right? You know, where something begins, where something ends. You know, it's also, what is it? Is it hard? Is it soft? Does it have light on it? Or does it fall into shadow? See, that's what we're trying to express while we're trying to make those lines. And learning how to use those lines so that they convey that idea is kind of important, okay? Because it will make a big difference in your ability to make things look like they have form and weight to them, okay?
Okay.
All right, so think about that. The other thing I would ask is, I know that you shot these out of your sketchbook. Take a little bit of time when you take them and prop them up or something, and try to get them more square in the frame, right? Because this
Yeah, I tried. I guess the thing I'm using for the tablet that I'm using for a camera is kind of big, and it's hard for me to.
Okay. Have you ever tried taking pictures with your phone?
Yeah, and it's so full right now with all this stuff. I'm kind of afraid it's old, and it's, so I'm kind of afraid I'm gonna lose the phone. But
Okay.
so I've been kind of leaning more toward doing it with the tablet.
And that's fine. Just take, you know, just practice with it and try to get things a little bit square. You'll find that, you know, you might have to kind of play with it for a little bit to get it in the right orientation where it's not real distorted. But, you know, with a tablet, it's, you know, it shouldn't be that hard, you know, to get it to kind of line up and then take the photo, okay? And just use the frame of the tablet because you've got a rectangle. And so as long as those edges kind of run parallel to those, you know, then you'll know it's fairly square, okay?
Okay.
All right.
I will.
It takes
And
practice.
if I have to, I'll do the other things with my phone, but then I'll delete them right away, I guess, for
Okay.
the show.
Yeah. Do you ever download any of the photos to your computer?
No,
No.
I haven't done that.
Okay. What kind of tablet have you got?
It's a, I'm on it right now.
Yeah.
If I can see that. It's a Samsung, a 10 inch.
So,
Okay.
and what kind of phone have you got? Whoa.
Huh?
What kind of phone have you got?
I've got a LG phone.
Okay. So they're both kind of, PC based. You should be able to get a cable, and you should be able to actually download your photos either to your tablet and or to a computer, one or the other. And that will free up your phone if you're worried about that. Okay?
Okay.
And that way you can save them, like either on your tablet or on a hard disk on a computer. And that way you don't have to keep all the photos on the phone.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Okay. All right. So that's kind of it. That's what everybody sent in. But we're not done. Okay. Because I wanted to kind of mention to you, there's a website that I went to, and I'm going to talk about some of these artists next week, particularly on Monday. And each of them are what we would call mixed media artists, and they've got an interesting method of approaching creating their art. And one in particular, I think Lady would relate to, because I would swear that they took Lady's idea. They've got these freestanding sculptural, three-sided paintings, that are probably like 6 feet tall. I'm not sure what they make them out of, whether they make them out of wood or whatever. But they generally just use kind of black and white, and that's kind of the, in various grays for their palette. But, this, I think it was a woman who was doing them. She had some interesting work. Anyway, we'll see some of that on Monday. We're going to have a storm here soon. But there was also, people doing more or less traditional sort of, collage that are really, really beautiful pieces that I want you guys to look at. Beyond that, let's see. I need to get, Richard sent in a video. Let me get to it. Participants, virtual interest. There we go. Anyway, it's about David Hockney, and he's talking about Vincent van Gogh and the influence of. Oh yeah, Ilan sent that in. I'm sorry. Anyway, he was talking about the influence of Van Gogh on his work, and we're going to watch that since we got time. It's a good video. I think you guys.
He is very impressive. Hockney, unbelievable.
This is David Hockney.
Hang on.
One of the most.
Hang on. We're not ready to go yet. We're getting there. We're getting close. All right. So put that up there and get back to you guys. And let's share. And I think you guys are going to like this. It's very good. Anyway, yeah, Ilan sent this to me. So it's well worth seeing. And I think, you know, if Søren were here, he would get that answer that he was looking for.
Influential British artists alive today. Hockney is best known for his iconic paintings of swimming pools and his portraits of his friends and family, most of which he made while living in California. His oeuvre ranges from painting, drawing, and printmaking to video, photography, and stage design. In the early 2000s, David Hockney temporarily returned to the UK, settling in Yorkshire for 9 years. Fascinated by the Northern England countryside and the changing of the seasons, he created a large body of landscape work that includes charcoal sketches, watercolors, monumental oil paintings, and even iPad drawings. David Hockney has always been greatly inspired by Vincent van Gogh, and it's indeed not hard to see the connection between the two artists. They both find endless inspiration and joy in nature.
It's a good title. Better than Dave and Vince. Sometimes I long so much to do landscape, just as one would go for a long walk to refresh oneself. And in all of nature, in trees, for instance, I see expression and a soul. Well, yes. I mean, in 2004, when I went to Bridlington, I knew landscape was seen as something you couldn't do today. That's what they said. You couldn't do today. And I thought, well, why? Because the landscapes become so boring. It's not the landscape that's boring, it's the depictions of it that have become boring, I thought. And I thought, well, yeah, I mean, you can't be bored of nature, can you? You have endless subjects in nature, endless. And Van Gogh knew that. I found subjects on a little road called Woldgate, Roman road to Bridlington. I asked somebody once, what colour is the road? He looked at the road and he said, it's not just grey, is it? I said, no, it's not, if you really look, but you have to really look. Photography, you're not really looking, but when you're drawing one blade of grass, you're looking, and then you see the other blades of grass, and you're always seeing more. Well, that's exciting to me, and it was exciting to Van Gogh. I mean, he saw very clearly, very, very clearly. The uglier, older, meaner, iller, poorer I get, the more I wish to take my revenge by doing brilliant colour, well-arranged, resplendent. That's very good, that I could say that, yes. He was kind of miserable man in a way, but when he was painting, he wasn't. I mean, that's what he loved to do, and there's love in those paintings, isn't there? I mean, there's not misery, there's love. I'll tell you why I think people really love them is they can see how they're done. All the brush marks are visible. You can see how they're painted, really. He was really the first great colorist. Great colorist. I'm not a colorist like Van Gogh. I'm not. I mean, I'm just a small one. I'm in a fury of work as the trees are in blossom, and I wanted to do a Provence orchard of tremendous gaiety. Yes. Gaiety, that's right. I mean, that's for the blossom, isn't it? I was always interested in the arrival of spring, what comes first. marvelous time. Of course, it's gaiety. Of course, it's fresh. I mean, everything is fresh without blossom, isn't it? Winter's over, all the plants are coming up. There's a moment when I said nature has an erection, when everything is stood up like that. It looks as though champagne has been poured over the bushes and it's all foaming up. And it looks marvelous. And it only lasts like 2 days or something. I mean, at its peak. This is full of movement. Absolutely. Marvelous. Marvelous. He saw more than other people. He did. He saw space very clearly, which not everybody can see. All painters bent perspective. Leonardo bent perspective. In a way, nature doesn't really have perspective. I've noticed trees don't follow their rules of perspective. They're so complicated, I mean, the branches going every way, that perspective is no use for them, really. Perspective is a strangle, I think. It's not really making space, it's strangling space. Not everything I do is a success, of course, but the work's getting along. Well, I would say that, but the work's getting along, yes. Yeah. If it had gone on another 10 years, he'd have been a very rich man, wouldn't he? He would, actually. I've painted for 60 years now. I'm still painting. And I'm still enjoying it enormously, yes. And Van Gogh enjoyed painting. He did. I mean, they're full of joy, aren't they? Yeah.
What'd you think of that?
Wonderful.
That's very good. Interesting.
I've had the pleasure of going to the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam.
Mm-hmm.
It is fabulous, but they do not allow you to take pictures. You can take pictures outside, but of course, never inside. They
Right.
will take away the camera if you try.
Yes, they will.
I didn't try.
Okay. Well, it's good you didn't try, because you probably want to hang on to your phone or your camera. You know, they do get a little bit picky about that. Let's see.
It's the flash of the camera that ruins the painting.
Yeah, but in a lot of cases you don't need a flash, but they still don't really want you taking pictures, flash or no flash. How's everybody doing? Everybody hanging in?
I was so impressed with David Hockney that after I saw this movie, I kept looking on YouTube yesterday and watched some more. It is very, very nice person.
Yeah.
He's also very, very capable. It's
Yeah.
like unbelievable.
Well, he's probably one of the more prolific modern painters out there.
Yeah.
Huge body of work. And his work, you know, has gone through a lot of changes, a lot of phases. You know, so it's definitely evolved over time. But yeah, Hockney is one of those people that, you know, if you want to look at modern painting, you know, he's probably one of the better people out there to check out.
He's painting now on iPad and printing it in huge scales later.
Right.
He's very, very interesting person.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, he is one of many artists who have gone to like digital, format to create work. That's one of the things about him. He, he's definitely keeping up with the times. I have let's see. I have another video that I wanted to show you. This is one of the mixed media artists that I was talking about. And
with bananas and
okay, we're gonna skip the ad. Okay. That would be a good idea.
G'day viewers, my name's Graham Stevenson.
Okay, stop that there. And get it. Yay! Kind of independent. And then get back to you guys so I can share the screen with you. Okay. Yep. Graham. All right. I think you guys will like this woman, particularly Lady. I think you'll really enjoy her work. Interesting lady. So anyway, there we go.
To invite you to come on a journey of creativity and learning and adventure through the series Colour in Your Life. There's an artist in every family throughout the world. Lots of times there's an artist deep down inside all of us as well. So grab your kids, your brothers, your sisters, your aunties, uncles, and mums and dads.
Sorry about that.
Well, the screen went blank.
Yeah, I know.
And see how some of the best artists in Australia do.
Can you say it again?
The screen went blank, but it's back now.
Okay, here. Okay. Hang on. Let's go back and see if we can do this right again. All right, so let's do share the screen. See if these bozos won't call again. All right, can everybody see the video?
Now, yes.
Yes,
Okay, good. That would be the plan. All right, so away we go.
Come and see how some of the best artists in Australia do what they do. Well, hi viewers, and welcome back to Colour in Your Life. Well, we're in Sydney today, very talented mixed media artist, Shazia Imran.
Hi.
Welcome to the show, darling. How are you?
Thank you.
Excellent. Shazia is an award-winning artist and is really multidisciplined in a lot of the things that she does. She does watercolours, acrylics, sculpture as well. It's a bit of a fantastic journey that she's been on. Exhibited in New York, Florence as well. Coming up to the Biennale, is that correct?
Yeah.
Fantastic. I mean, and her work is really vibrant. It's just amazing to watch. When you originally started, I mean, you're from a Pakistani background, and you said to your dad, who is a lawyer, that you wanted to be an artist. What was his response to that?
Oh, it was expected in the beginning, like he was shocked, right? And he was like, oh, artist. And but then eventually, because a lot of my family members, they are engineers, doctors, and
academics.
Yeah. So being an artist was kind of a new thing for them, but now he's a big supporter.
That's great. It's fantastic. And I think obviously our parents are a great deal of the influence that we have in our lives as well.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. But you're obviously a lot of the stuff that you've been doing recently is, as you can see, is really themed on buildings and New York, which is a fascinating city under any circumstances. An amazing place. But we're going to be doing one of your mixed media pieces today, and obviously involving your tissue paper down here already.
Yeah. So I would like to work in this. Like the latest body of work is more like media stuff, and I like to live on there, and which will involve like some collage, some mixed media, some other acrylics, and any other material I can get to. So yeah, I'll try to handle it.
All right. What I'll do is it's a good place for me to be these days, and I'm going to let you do what you're going to do, and I'm just going to ask you some questions during the day so that we can go through, and then we're going to show obviously a lot of shots of what Shazia has been doing with her career, which is some really special stuff. But I'm going to get out of here and I'm going to let you do what you need to do.
Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, Shazia, where do we start?
Okay, so first of all, whenever I start my artwork, I will actually have a rough plan in my mind that what I'm going to do eventually. Although mixed media is quite fluid, and as I like to do layers, it can go anywhere. But to have a little bit of plan is good. I always like to use some textures, which are this is also a tissue paper, but it's a bit patterned. So I'll use a bit of that.
Well, the art stores sell numerous quantities of these.
Yes, yes. If you go to the art store, you can get different materials. You can get printed ones.
Yeah.
You can get plain ones. You can get a lot of sort of patterned ones as well.
Yes.
One thing I usually do sometimes is I actually put all the collage pieces there, and I'll actually paste it with masking tape, and just to see the composition from the back. Before I paste it. Usually I would like to use some shapes, like in this instance I'm using U shape, or Esker, which is quite popular in sculptures as well, and or Z, letter Z. So if I'm planning something, I will actually start with something which is more familiar to people. And now I'm using binder, just normal binder. If the paper is really thick, then I'll just soak it before canvas, and just layer it with a little bit on top as well, so it just wraps.
So it's wet and soaks through.
Yeah.
I mean, when I look at your academic situation, you've really done a lot of things as far as design is concerned. You've got a postgraduate degree, Master of Design, Digital Media from University of Western Sydney. You got a bachelor's degree with distinction, National College of Arts, and then you weren't mucking around when you would have did. This is a career, were you?
No, I think I was in creative business anyway from right from the start. So yeah. I graduated with design, but paintings I was doing on and off, all the time. Like first as a hobby, but now from the last 5-6 years I'm taking it really seriously.
Yeah.
And I think I've been getting a very good response from that side.
But the fact that you have been willing to go out and do a lot of workshops, find out the information, work with people like Philip Farrow from New York, who's a fantastic sculptor over there, which has obviously influenced in your sculpture work, and a good friend of ours, knowing quite well, Alvaro Castanet.
Yeah.
You've done some work with Alvaro, and he's a fantastic artist and teacher as well.
Yeah, amazing artist. It's always like, I love learning, and so I try to join demos and workshops and whatever I can get to, because you get inspired from looking at other artists' work as well.
Yes.
And then, okay. So while it's, I'll try to mix some colors, which I'm going to use on that.
And you're using acrylics.
Today I'm using acrylics. Because of this, I'm using canvas today. So I'm going to use acrylics, but if I'm working on paper, I will actually sometimes use some gouache and watercolor as well, and then I'll try to build up this layer for layer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mix some. Okay, so now I'm going to break these colors down in washes. So one for each color, and just mix it.
Must be cake brush.
Yeah, it's phthalo blue. And I like to use 3 different brushes because then I can actually keep them. And I get inspired from anything around me. My latest work is basically based on a lot of buildings. That's because I traveled to New York and Europe, and I got inspired by those countries, cities a lot. So latest body of work is based on that, but I can get inspiration from anything.
Yes, you're, as I said before, a multidisciplinary artist.
So what I'm going to do now is just roughly, sometimes it's good to actually have a free flow effect. So I'm just going to apply this magenta, a little bit of purple, and which is I'm following the same shape, U shape, which I've created with my collage as well. Okay.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So,
It's a girl's look, right?
and sometimes it's always good to use different sorts of techniques and materials with that.
You've got an atomizer there.
Yep. And that's a fine mist.
Yeah. I suppose the material underneath will grab certain sections and soak that and make it either darker or lighter.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you want to keep it a bit more transparent, then so you add a bit of water.
You got a sponge roller there.
Yes.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's easy. Also, sometimes it's always good to actually use just normal items around you. For example, tissue paper. It's really handy. It creates really lovely texture.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you want the hands to, so that way I'm getting a lot of shapes which I won't be able to if I'm actually drawing.
Yeah.
So basically I'm preparing a surface for my drawing. Okay, we've put some color on the canvas and I'm going to put it away because it's going to take some time to dry. Meanwhile, I have prepared another one, which is almost similar color scheme.
Sure. Yeah, is that one?
Thank you very much.
I'm going to grab this one and put it down
Thank
flat
you.
somewhere for it. Yeah.
So now that we have prepared this one, I'm going to draw on that. I like to use charcoal because it's easily, you can rub it if you make any mistake. And once I finalize, then I'll use some crayons. So just drawing it roughly.
Those live figurative classes will help you in understanding the human form.
Yeah, definitely. I think doing sculpture helps a lot, understanding the human figure.
Yeah, and you've done some fantastic sculptures too. One there called Sophie, which is an upstanding nude.
Yeah.
Arms and that's beautiful.
Yeah, so that one is casted in bronze.
You've got another one there as well, which is really interesting because you actually made this up out of your head. I think it's pretty hard. It's Karam Nisa,
Yes.
which is fantastic. You said you reminded your grandmother.
Yeah, so I actually started working on it, and when I finished it, my grandmother now, so I named her after that. All right, so I'm going to use this white charcoal or Ponte, whatever you have, is just to capture some highlights. So in this light is coming from that side, so it will blend in later with a lot of other materials we are going to use. So just adding the highlighted areas now. Then we move on to another thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to think about adding a bit more pattern in this painting. So what I'm doing now is just looking at that if these pieces are going to look fine on this painting. And the good way to do it is just to stick it with masking tape and then step back, take a look, and then change it if you don't like it. And sometimes I would actually overlap this texture so that it blends in with the figure. So I'm going to move it now and use my binder again. Just stick these pieces, and I usually go with binder on top of that as well, just to preserve the Sometimes I would look at the painting and I would layer it with another layer of tissue paper. So I will do that right now.
So really building a story.
Yes, layer by layer. And then it will add another dimension to it. And I'm looking at the shapes being created on this piece as well. So not only from the whole figurative point of view, but small little shapes which are being created, and then those lines, and which adds to the movement of the painting.
Mm-hmm.
And brushes I use normally for this sort of work is like cheap brushes, and then I have other brushes. So now we have put another layer of tissue papers on that, so and it has dried a bit. So now we are ready to paint. So I'm going to put that on the easel. See clearly. Again, I'm going to stick to my three colors, main colors. I'll use phthalo blue as my darks, and for medium, I'm using this brilliant magenta. And for highlights, I'm going to stick to Naples yellow.
There's really no whites or darks. You're just simply using pure color all the way through.
Yeah. I'll probably start with my middle tone first. Yeah, and I'll blend it in later. And at this point, I can actually use a little bit of spray as well, so just to make it a bit soft. And I'm not worried about if it's going to run over.
You've got some really beautiful pieces. There's one called Swirl. We like the colours in that, and that's done with.
That's with gouache and watercolor.
Okay, there you go.
Mixed water.
Then Nude 2, but you weren't happy with one picture. You re-gouached the whole thing and then painted the nude over the top of that.
Yeah, I did paint a scene of London, and I was not happy with the way it was going, so I just gessoed over it, turned it upside down, and repainted the one, and yeah, it turned out to be. So I'm just glazing over a bit.
So last time you were in New York at the New York Art Expo, you had really quite a great response from a number of different countries and galleries of wanting your work.
Yeah. So the best thing about that is you are exhibiting your work, and a lot of people, they go past your booth. And I did get a very, very good response from there. That now I've been offered to exhibit in Paris, London, Miami, practically all of the world, Sweden as well. So which is really exciting.
But also you've been in the Florence Biennale, where you actually had two beautiful pieces, really individual three-dimensional pieces. One was called Entwined Transcendence, which is pretty amazing the way that you put those together. And they're like sculptures themselves. And then the other one you had was Eternal Splendor. I mean, what was the motivation behind that?
With these two pieces, I have actually combined not only all my background or my heritage, but also my experience I had in Florence when last time I was there. And because I work on sculpture and paintings as well, so these two pieces were a balance between sculpture and painting as well. So it's kind of a relief from form. The organizers, they gave us a topic, which is art and police and relationship between man and environment, and Florence itself as a center or hub of Renaissance movement. So they are actually depicting those two topics. So in one piece, I have actually focused more on the Statue of David and academia, and how the building and the sculpture inspired me so much. And the second piece is more about spiritual connections and what.
So as part of being out in Cherrybrook in Sydney, you also become part of an artist collective called the Australian Art Design Collective.
Coming back from New York, I've been inundated with offers from all over the world. And I thought, why not to share this experience with other artists? So I did start this collective where we are actually going to be a group of people exhibiting different areas.
I understand what you're saying.
Existence at the moment, which is aadgallery.com. And I'm actually gathering some local artists to display their work on social media and site.
I think it helps with your background in marketing and digital media as well.
Yeah, because I've been working and designing websites, and it has been really helpful. Get some experience from there and implement in art as well.
When you first started your art career, it was, as many artists do, it was really about discipline and line and capturing it exactly as it is. But now, as you've matured as an artist, I think you've well realised that it's just about the impression and expression that you put into your work.
Yeah. So basically, when I first started, I started learning the basic technique and human form and a bit more detailed and more traditional style because, I thought, I need to learn these techniques. And like I heard that, you need to know the rules to break the rules. I'm just giving a little bit of impression of the muscles and, just body shape a bit, not going in more details.
So that's just the pastel you're using there?
That's just the pastel. Again, I'm going to blend it in later. And if I really want to keep that texture there, I would use the oil pastel.
Yeah.
And oil pastel, basically, it actually creates a resist as well. And so if I go over with a glaze with any other acrylic color, it will actually show through this, just block those areas for me.
Mm-hmm. It's actually drawing with oil paint, which is fantastic. There's a lot of galleries that have suffered over the last decade, really. And artists seem to be taking control of their careers a lot more. Do you find that the art trade shows are very beneficial?
Personally speaking, I had a very good experience with trade shows. And I think in this digital age, everyone needs to be more aware of a lot of galleries. They are closing down, unfortunately, and they're going online. So I think artists, they need to be understanding of the fact that, people are actually quite accessible. Consumers are accessible through online world and through, art shows or through Color in Your Life. I think that's the most effective medium to actually get your work across a broader range of audience.
Also, being in New York at the Art Expo, you've painted some wonderful pieces. One called Glow After the Rain, which is a blue street scene, very emotive, that one.
Remember, we put a collage piece there. So it's almost, you can see it's just blended in with the paint and glaze I've applied on top.
Now you also do some quite large pieces as well. You've got corporations that are knocking on the door these days about having your work in their collections, and it's not just smaller pieces. You really do get stuck into some quite larger pieces as well.
Yes, and even if someone likes some painting of mine and they like the style, I'm happy to do commission for them.
Even portraits and other commissions as well.
Yeah, portraits, or one customer is renovating their house and they told me the color scheme, so I'm just working on their piece, according to what the interior designer has told them.
You're a busy young woman, there's no two ways about that. And also, even in that whole mix of you traveling, doing these commissions for corporations, you actually do workshops as well.
Workshops was never my thing. I never thought about that. But I think a lot of people are interested in knowing the technique and procedure I'm using. So I'm happy to share it with other people.
Your work is fun work too, and you're a fun human being as well to be around. You've got a great attitude towards your work and towards life. So, if you want to be with an artist that is very passionate about what she does, and they're in Sydney, this would be the lady to come to.
With my workshop, it's mostly like a group activity. It's like a paint party kind of concept, and where we are painting, we are chatting, and it's kind of a social experience for people.
So if you'd like to come to one of Shazia's workshops, and they would be a lot of fun, Shazia, your website details are?
Shazia.com.au. Simple.
That's not a tough one by any means, is it?
Not long ago, Rita Levi Montalcini celebrated her 103rd birthday, and then during the festivities, she made a speech. And in that,
Okay, so just trying to finalize some that bit of area, and I want to use charcoal again. And once I'm finished with that, what I'll use is just a fixative spray to basically fix the charcoal so it doesn't come off. So then it actually holds everything together. And at the end of the process, I will actually varnish the painting as well, which keeps some of everything preserved.
Okay, Shazia, you've got a lot to do, but with the beauty of television, we're going to put the final piece up, and it looks spectacular. Well, fantastic day, Shazia.
Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. You're a charming, charming young woman. Absolutely. Wonderful piece, as you can see, we've screened that up. It's a job well done. Your workshops, of course, as well. If people wanted to get in touch with you, what is your website again?
It's shazia.com.au.
And what about the Australian art design site that you've got as well?
Yeah, it's aadgallery.com.
And if people really want to be part and parcel of what you're doing out here at Cherry Brook, which is in Sydney, they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, they can go to the website and there's a mailing list there. They can join the mailing list and join us.
Absolutely. And commissions, portraits, obviously corporations get Shazia to do a lot of their work as well, which is pretty cool. We're going to head off. We've had a fantastic time in Sydney this time again, and we'll be back at some stage, of course. If you want to see some more of these fantastic people, go to colouryourlife.com.au, come into our Facebook page and like us, and also go to our YouTube page as well at Colour in Your Life. We have literally tens and tens of thousands of subscribers that watch the show now, so it's really cool what's happening. But we're going to head off, as we always say, and you know what we're about to say. Remember, guys, sure you put some colour in your life. We'll see you next time. Bye now. Bye.
So what'd you think of that?
Well, it's interesting, but you can't understand a word they're saying just about. It's just the of any of these video YouTubes are terrible. But what I would like to know, did you use what did you use to paste down the tissue paper with? And did she not, the tissue paper just took up space because she put the same color on the plain canvas as she did the tissue paper is what it looked like.
Well, she put it in layers, and basically she was just building up shapes and textures, you know, to kind of be as a background for the image. So, you know, in some places she kept it a little more prominent, other places less. But she was using acrylic primarily. And she just used like a glue, like a white glue or a acrylic gel.
Was it gesso?
No.
Oh, she didn't use gesso.
No,
it
no.
was a gel medium.
Yeah, like a clear. Yeah, yeah. You don't want to use a gesso because if you do that, then it, you know, fades whatever you're working on, you know, back, you know, into the background. And so, yeah, she didn't want to do that. She basically just wanted to get those pieces down and adhere. And for that, she just used, like I said, you know, either like a white glue, you can use that, or you can use the acrylic gel medium, or, you know, really any kind of medium, you know, matte medium, gloss medium, you know, any of those clear acrylic mediums will, you know, basically adhere. Whatever.
Most of her space was square or rectangular. She didn't use any type of odd shapes that I could see.
Not in this piece, she didn't, but she, you know, as she was saying though, you know, sometimes she uses like S-curve pieces, sometimes, you know, different forms, you know, that she'll work with as an underlying structure. So, you know, it varies depending on what she's doing. So. Yeah. Let's see, Rebecca, is she thinning? Oh, the paint with gesso? No, no, she didn't, just with water. You know, that's all she was using as a like a carrying medium, was just plain water. Now, some people think that's a good idea, other people not so much. But she wasn't really relying on the paint itself to be a binder. So that's what she was using all the gel medium and the glue for. And so she wasn't worried about it coming apart. So it was more of a way of managing the color, because she was really just using straight color. She wasn't intermixing anything. You know, it was either the magenta, either the blue, and she really didn't use the yellow or anything on it. So, but, you know, I thought the process was kind of interesting, and I'm sorry some of you had a hard time hearing it, but
I could hear it, but it was not understandable. It went like low voices and then high voice, you know what I mean, loud and soft, and then.
Right. Yeah.
Very difficult. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of the problem with trying to video or shoot something live, is that often, you know, because of backgrounds, things like that, the sound will kind of come in and out. Which is why when
I don't know why they can't do the demonstration and then make a separate voiceover for the demonstration.
Well, and I do that.
Would help.
Yeah, I do that. You know, but it's a lot more work, and it's not as spontaneous. You know, because it's hard to have a dialogue as a voiceover, you know, questions back and forth, and it's easier to shoot it while you're doing the demo. And so, you know, it's just, you know, that's how they did it. So, well.
Charles, I have two comments. I love the way that she had her studio organized. I noticed that she had a plastic stand, and on this stand were all of her tubes of paint neatly organized. And would you say that was a traditional way to create a collage? The method she used?
Yeah, it was pretty straightforward. Yeah, there was nothing terribly unusual there, and she was pretty much so using what would be considered additive processes all the way along. So it's not like she was tearing or taking anything away. What she was doing is actually just building up, you know, kept adding layers, and, you know, layers of paint, layers of paper, you know, drawing into it, and then painting back over into it. So it was all kind of an additive process.
When we saw Mr. Schmidt, is that how you say it? Okay. He had in his mind's eye what the painting that he was copying going to look like. Did this artist already have a finished idea in her mind of what she was going to do, or just started adding layers and then was inspired by how it looked as the process went on?
No. They showed in there, she had a small little piece that she had done previously of wash and watercolor of a figure. And so that was her reference, because she had done the figure drawing from life, you know, saved that, redrew it, you know, did the watercolor, you know, and then now she's making a final piece. Do they all come out exactly the same? No.
No.
Yeah, but, you know, similar, you know, it's something for her to work toward. And she talked a little bit about that, you know, basically saying that, yeah, she definitely has a direction that she's going in, you know, and it's kind of fluid, you know, you can change it, you can modify it a little bit, but, you know, she still has that basic image as a goal that she's working toward. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I call it a thumbnail. So, you know, a thumbnail or a comp. All right. Anybody got any other questions? Okay. Going once, going twice. Come on. Any other comments?
I have a question.
Okay.
How do you keep from smudging your artwork as you're painting it? Do you have to let it dry for hours between each time you use a different color?
No, because using acrylics, they dry fairly quickly.
Well, Richard Schmidt used a cane.
Right. Yeah.
Was it propped on the canvas so that it was separated from the painting itself so it didn't smudge it?
Yeah, but he was working in oils. And yeah, right. Yeah, you lay it over the top bar of the easel so that it's not down on the canvas. and it acts as a rest for your hand. So to
Boy,
steady,
could I swap. I'm gonna get a cane.
yeah, they're useful.
Yeah.
You know, you can also order what they call a mall stick, you know, online, or go to one of the art stores and buy one. And all it is a, you know, a straight piece of metal or wood, and then they've got a ball on the end of it, you know, to help, you know, keep, you know, raise it off the surface of the painting. And you just prop it up against your easel, or you prop it up against the corner of the painting or whatever, and then you've got, you know, again, a nice raised bridge, you know, for your hand to rest against, so that you can work and do something more detailed. Okay.
Makes it. Thank you.
All right.
You spell that M-A-L?
Yeah, M-A-L-L.
Mall. Like you're going to shop at a mall.
You're going, right. Yeah, a ball stick. Okay.
Right, thank you.
All right. Anybody else?
Yes, what do we need for tomorrow? What do we set up for? Do we need pencils, paper, paint,
Well,
glue?
well, you could use any of them. We're going to do a drawing, and it's not going to be figures. Okay.
Not going to what?
It's not going to be the human figure. It's going to be something else. Okay. But I've got.
A martini. We can have a martini.
There you go. you want to try to draw, you know, cocktails?
Yes.
I draw.
Well, unfortunately, at 2:00 in the afternoon on Friday, I can't join you in the drinking of it. I got to work hard. So, but yes, that's a great idea, actually. And in fact, I know an artist who primarily that's what she paints is, you know, margaritas, cocktail, you know, type stuff, you know, really beautiful stuff, a lot of color, you know, really nicely done. And her name is Shannon Meadows, if you want to look her up. So anyway, so yes, if you want to bring like either pens or pencils, you could use a brush in India ink, or, you know, like a fine brush, you know, and watercolor, you know, to work tomorrow. That's fine. We're going to be doing a series of images. We're not going to do a lot of warm-ups. We'll probably take about 20 to 25 minutes for each image. Okay, and we'll do around 5 or 6 images. Okay.
You do watercolor?
Yeah, you could use watercolor, you know, as a medium to, you know, more or less sketch with. Yeah.
So other question, you will send assignment again for us? Assignment,
No.
art assignment, no?
No. The purpose of tomorrow is we're going to draw. You can draw.
I know. I said just you have the assignment with us. So 2 weeks. I need, because it's hard to get. I couldn't find my email again.
Oh.
Reference. Reference.
Okay. You want me to? Okay. Well, I've got to send it to Jean, so I'll send it to you as well. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Does anybody else need the reference material for the assignment again? Okay. All right. Good. All right. So Jean and all right. Anybody got any other questions? Anything they need to say before we go away?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. We'll see you.
You too.
Thank you.
Yeah. Make
See
sure.
you tomorrow.
Yeah. Make sure that you've had your coffee in the morning, and that you're wide awake, and that you haven't had too many martinis before you show up at 2:00. Okay. All right.
Thanks.
Talk to you guys.
Have your materials ready.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right. See you later.